Hello everyone, this is Big Sam, and today I'm coming for you with a guide on how to one-shot everything, especially acolytes. And our star of the show is going to be Atlas, and I just gotta tell you that this guy is just stupidly strong, and I love how I can just like one-shot an acolyte mid-speech, like as they talking, they appear, and I just one-shot them, and they haven't even finished talking yet. It's just, I don't know, it feels funny. But yeah, I'll show you now how we build Atlas and how his abilities function, and how two of them are just completely useless and need a rework really bad. But how we can still do max damage only using two abilities. So, first, as usual, let's start with the abilities. So, Atlas. His passive is basically him being immune to knockdown as long as he's making contact with the ground. So as long as you're standing your ground, you're not going to be knocked down. Basically, the guy's a mountain. And I'd personally expect no less for someone who blew up a damn meteor with his fists. And if you want videos on the lore, just tell me in the comment. And I'm a lore nerd in all my games, like Warframe, League of Legends, PoE, you name it. So if you want videos about the lore, I can make those for you. Just gotta let me know in the comments. And actually, thank you very much for your support on the Harrow video. And I'll try to release another video like right after this with my Harrow fashion. And I'll try to keep it going, as I'll basically post short videos with the tutorial on how to do the looks of my characters if y'all like them. And yeah, I'll test it first with Harrow. So we're done with Atlas passive. As long as you're standing on the ground, you're not gonna be knocked out, or you're not gonna be knocked off of your feet, basically. So all the people that talk about Prime Surefooter and Atlas, well, to each their playstyle, but I don't think it's even remotely something that would come to mind with someone with this kind of passive. So his first ability is gonna be our bread and butter for the build. It's called Landslide. What it does is you can't just like shoot it like or use it without an enemy in front of you. You have to target an enemy, and then when you press 1, Atlas dashes towards them and just punches them really hard. And it stacks combo since the last update, when they made it well, actually it was the March update when they made it moddable, and they made it able to stack combo on its own. And so you're invulnerable through the dash, and you punch the enemies really hard, and that's how we're gonna be using his super punch to basically one-shot anything. And it has an augment called Path of Statues, and this is really important because whenever you punch an enemy, you look behind a trail of rocks, that whenever other enemies step on it, they basically get turned to stone. And we're gonna see how we're gonna use that stone, or like those stoned enemies, for the build in a moment. And so his second ability is trash. Like, it's just trash. He just puts a wall in front of him that he can again press a second ability to just make it turn into a boulder and just roll it in front of him. It deals no damage. It's too small to be like, an area lockdown, or like, okay, I'm keeping all the enemies in this spot kind of ability, But it's not really useful in any way, shape, or form for me at least. So I substitute it with Roar, because who doesn't like Roar? And also because Roar is a buff that applies to your damage, like your weapon damage, and also your ability damage. Where something like Eclipse only applies to um, weapon damage and ability damage on Mirage only, because it's stated to be so. So his third ability is also going to be what we're going to be using here. And it basically turns enemies into stone. And what it does is, when you turn enemies to stone and you kill them, they basically crumble apart, dropping chunks of stone. And if you pick those up, you stack armor and heal if your health is damaged or has been damaged. And it has an augment called Or Gaze, which basically makes enemies have a high chance of dropping extra loot whenever they're stoned and you kill them. But we're not going to be using that today. Instead, what we're going to be using is another augment that's not really tied to any of his abilities, but it basically works in 3 and 1 together. So the stones you collect from your stoned enemies from Petrify and Landslide, the augment of Landslide, those have a maximum of 1500 points of armor. And once you reach 1400, your first ability's cast will not be using energy. Instead, it will be using stacks of your armor. I think 40 stacks. And in my opinion, that's more than enough, because how we're gonna do it is we're gonna be consistently stoning everyone around us all the time. So the rubble will keep dropping, and basically we will be keeping up that 1400 plus stacks. And now to his fourth ability, which is also trash, and it summons 2 basically golems that damage your enemies, and they're not super good at that. They're really weak. Like, I think it needs a tune-up. It needs to scale with something at least, because it's really mid at best. Like, it's super mid at best. Not even mid at that, not gonna lie. It's not even mid. Like, there is room for improvement. Like, it's not like his second, because his second is literally just trash. Nobody uses that. Everybody replaces that. But sometimes there is a little niche that you might cast your rumblers to take aggro off of yourself. I never really cast it, but you can use it for that, And so, without further delay, let's go into his build. So, I have 2 setups for him, and the only real difference is for the energy upkeep, and I'll show you how that works. So first of all, we're gonna use Steel Charge as our aura, and Arcane Fury, both for extra melee damage, because that's how we do millions of damage on our basically Falcon Punch. And we're gonna be stacking strength as well, to basically make it so our roar is not completely useless and our landslide deal more damage, like more base damage. And so basically we're gonna have molt augmented, really, to me at least, for lack of better option. And then power drift, umbral intensify, blind rage, and transient fortitude, all for just strength, just a bunch of strength. And it's really, we'll see how it makes a difference, because I tried like removing all that strength, and it was really like much weaker than it usually is. Like, yes, it still deals damage, but not as much. I like seeing red numbers pop all over my screen. And so we're gonna be using rubble heap for the extra energy economy for casting our landslide using our rubble and not our energy once you get it to 1400 rubble. And also it makes it deal 2 times the damage, and it makes it two times faster. And basically at the rate we're gonna be spamming landslide, we don't really need any survivability, since it always makes us invulnerable, but we still put adaptation just for good measure. You know, you can be caught off guard. And for the energy, because we have blind rage, we're gonna be burning through that up until we get the 1400 rubble, so we can get the build going. So we're gonna be needing prime flow and equilibrium, and this is for the first setup, in which what we're gonna do is either run this guy with synth deconstruct. I'm starting really bad today. Or, and this is the best option in my opinion for him, we run, where did it go? There we go. Yeah, we run this little guy with synth deconstruct. I haven't really finished the build for him, but yeah, this is important since it drops more HB orbs, which we're gonna be using to turn into energy through equilibrium. And the other way around it for the energy is that we still use prime flow, but replace equilibrium with Archon stretch, which will give us higher range. Just ignore the Thera strike. But yeah, it will give us a higher range for our punch and for our Petrify. And what it will do is that we're gonna make use of Deriga's Arc Coil, because that counts as an ability that did electric damage. And for the Hound though, so what we're using is, yes, Energized Prospectus. That's another ability from our Hound that basically shocks enemies around. And basically what it does is it fires that tiny ball that ricochets and electrocutes enemies in a 10-meter radius. And also, this is a skill, right? And we're gonna be using all of our elements to basically use it to prime an enemy. So you can see how much elements he has, and just punch the hell out of him. And so that's basically it for the energy. And now, for the moment everybody has been waiting for, the Landslide Fist build. So basically, as you can see, I have 5 violet Tau Force shards for the extra crit damage, and that will basically be the difference if you copy the same build but don't have those Archon shards on, because we're going to be using full crit build. So we're going to be using Blood Rush since it now can stack combo. We're going to be using Gladiator Might, so it's basically 50% crit chance per combo multiplier. And then we're going to be basically stuffing damage and crit damage into it. So we use Galvanized Steel for some crit chance, but more importantly, for the 120% crit damage once we get the stacks rolling. And also Organ Shatter for 90% more crit damage. And then we're going to be using Primed Heavy Trauma for impact. Regular heavy trauma works. Basically anything that deals impact or like basically base damage will work. So we have Spoiled Strike for 100% melee damage. We have Primed Heavy Trauma for 135% impact, which is, it deals pure impact. And then Prime Pressure Point for 165% melee damage to further increase the damage we have. And then Condition Overload for higher damage per ailment on the enemy. And then we get Melee Exposure. So whenever we cast an ability, we get extra corrosive damage added to our strikes. Basically up to 240% extra corrosive added to the 10,000 damage we already have. And as you can see, it mainly has like 1700 damage like at base, and that's because of the strength we put into it. It's usually like 300, like without all the strength we have. So yeah, it's important to have strength as well as a bunch of crit damage and melee damage modifiers. And so that lands us at 12.5 times crit damage per yellow crit, which is going to be multiplied by 2 for orange, and the orange number is going to be multiplied by 2 for red crits. And so how does this build work? So we're going to start by just spawning a bunch of Grenier, and let me just pick up a bit of energy. I'm going to do this, stone them all, and as you can see, we're already starting to deal quite some damage. Just want to get it to 12 times multiplier. And already, as you can see, we're already starting to go into the territory of orange and red crits. And you can see sometimes it pops up a mark of corrosive damage, and that's basically because of our arcane. And the more you keep going at it, the stronger it will keep up with the enemy spawn, and the faster it will one-shot everything. And yeah, and basically based on the amount that our Hound or our Diriga primes the enemies with. So let's change Hound for Diriga actually, because I don't like Hound on Atlas, because it usually strays too far and it takes too long for it to prime enemies, where Diriga is just above your shoulder priming enemies as you get close to them. So do this, they get instantly primed. And also what you can do is use a Panzer Volpaphyla with basically it will help with viral priming, and you can use here, yeah, Yeah, so you can use the Tenacious Bond for extra crit damage multiplier, and Tandem Bond for extra combo on your weapons, or on your melee, sorry. So here we go. So now I'm basically, I gotta get the combo rolling, and then just punch the ever-living hell out of them. And Warframe has never been easier, really. Maybe Dante on release, but yeah, I haven't seen any of my Warframe be as absurdly powerful as Atlas. And he's the one Warframe that will consistently be able to destroy acolytes all the time. But yeah, again, my personal preference for the companion is Dirga. You can see, I haven't finished it yet. I will post the build whenever I finish it with the next video. And that will be it. I'm not going to be doing any weapon builds today, because Atlas doesn't really need a weapon. Any weapon that could basically support you if you run out of energy until you get your stacks going, until you get more energy dropping and all that. That's all you need, really. Don't need anything else. Just basically make sure to run Naramon. You don't want to run out of your combo. Want to keep it going. Want to make it basically impossible to lose it. There you go. And I guess this will be it for today. Make sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe if you like this video, and have a good weekend. And I'll see you in the next one. Good luck, Tenno.